to kind of have my holiday get together with the different people I employ for
That was
contractors.
last night?
Yeah, last night.
Nice.
And so we're sitting there like hanging out after we ate somewhere, and then we went somewhere else to get some drinks, and we're just kind of hanging out. And then we realized the my sound guy, who's grew up in this area in general, just in the PA, but he's like never had crumpies.
Man.
And we were like, what? I thought we talked about this. He's like, well, we did. And he's like, I went there once and there was a line out the door, and he was like, I'm not waiting for donuts. And we were like, dude, there's always a line, but it moves quickly, but it's worth it,
It is.
So then we're like, okay, we're going right now. We're going tonight. So we go there, take him over there. And of course, sure enough, there's a line.
Yeah.
Even though it's like overcast, rainy.
Especially this week with everyone being on. This is probably really busy this week.
And so we go over there, and we're standing in line. He's like, oh, these better be good. We're standing here in the cold and rain. Finally get in there. He gets a dozen because takes them home to his family. Whatever, get a dozen. So we wait till everyone's got some. All get outside, and then we're like, okay, let's see what you think. And he bites into it, and he's like, oh my god, this is. Oh, and he's like, and then he looks and he's like, there's no line. Maybe I'll go get another dozen. So then, and then he's like, second one in, he's like, dude, I gotta stop. He's like, I'm gonna have to send you guys my medical bills. This is gonna, he's like, these are amazing. Hey, welcome back to Screen Time. I'm your host, Josh Youngbar, and I have with me today my co-host, Jared.
I don't want to talk about the Wheelers anymore.
Nice. That's a good one.
I had to get there quick. I was like, oh shoot, I'm starting to do a quote now every time.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, that's good. I like
the
that.
ironic thing is we're going to be talking about them a lot.
Yes. Well, it just plays into the thing. But speaking of, today we are covering the film Revolutionary Road, directed by Sam Mendes. This is was released in 2008, rated R, an hour and 59 minutes.
2 hour mark again.
Yeah, I know. He's just right there.
Next one, I think is an hour and a half though.
Ooh, okay.
It's shorter. I don't know, around an hour and a half.
Okay.
I want to say.
We've got writer Justin Haith. Honestly, he hasn't done much else. And then the other writing credit is Richard Yates, who wrote the book that the film is based on.
Okay.
Which is named the same. Again, Roger Deakins. So I just want to point out that I'll get to it. Yeah. And then production cost $35 million, which is,
makes sense.
Yeah. This did not win any Academy Awards.
A lot of nominations.
There was some nominations. Yeah. For the small as the small as small as the cast is, there's some strong people in this. So we got Kate Winslet playing April Wheeler, and then Leonardo DiCaprio playing Frank Wheeler, and then we have Kathy Bates playing Mrs. Givings, and then Richard Easton playing Mr. Givings, and then Michael Shannon is playing John Givings, their son, and then we have Catherine Hahn playing Millie Campbell, the neighbors, and then David Arbor playing Shep Campbell.
Mm-hmm.
So
that's everyone. Yeah,
that's everyone pretty much, and that's pretty much 90% of the movie are those people.
Yeah.
There's a few ancillary, side characters when they go a couple places, but it's which is why you can do a film like this for $35 million because it's like basically an indie movie with like talented director, cinematographer, like you have like top notch actors and like all that stuff, but then like the movie really is made like an indie movie.
True. Yeah. And so like, you have plenty of money that goes to especially
if you swapped out all those people with like nobodies, this movie would probably cost less than $1 million.
Yeah.
Because theoretically, like you could do.
Yeah. Unless it's something in trivia, it's like they didn't have to make any sets and there's really only like 3 locations.
Yeah, I mean they probably made it. Probably ended
It's
up
like
having,
two houses and then work.
you're right.
Right.
Yeah, yeah. His office, the a couple houses. Yeah, there was
Oh no, there was one
there's
scene they're like walking.
there was the opening scene
Yeah,
where they
that's
meet
right.
each other, which is like a party, but that's again just like some like
Oh, I
house or
forgot
something.
that. Yeah.
And then there's like where she does the play at the beginning. It was like at a school or something, and
Yeah,
yeah.
very minimal. Yeah,
But you're
I
right.
forgot
It's
that.
very
Yeah.
minimal.
Mm-hmm.
Some yeah. All right, so let's do our synopsis where we get a young couple living in the Connecticut suburb during the mid 1950s struggled to come to terms with their personal problems while trying to raise their two children. All right, so just general thoughts before we get into spoilers.
Okay.
What do you think?
I had not seen this. Have you seen this before?
No.
Okay. I did see part of it. I want to say a while ago because, again, I'll preface all this with I love this decade anyway, so I think I probably watched it just kind of like, oh, it's a movie set in the 50s. I do remember watching a little bit of it in the past, but still I didn't know much about the movie at all. And one thing is I love the set design and costuming. Obviously, was very good they did all that very well.
Yeah, the art direction, all those things. Like yes,
very good for to get everything with the time period right. And
which is I mean that not the but it's like very Mad Men vibes, which is basically the same time period when it starts.
Yeah, Mad Men's like it's like almost 1960. I want to say when it starts, and it goes through basically all the 60s, and then early 70s at the very end. I want to say, or like 1970 or something. Yeah. What I did like this movie. What I was surprised by was, it kind of flew by the 2 hours for me. And because of the premise of the movie, I'm like, I don't know how this is going to go. And actually, it went very different than what I thought it would go too. But I did like it. It is, I think I'd like it less if it wasn't in this time period. Okay. That's a big part of it. But I thought the dialogue was very good. We'll get into the acting, especially, was very good. And then the only other point, no spoilers yet, but the ending was way darker than I thought it would be too, which made it more interesting too. But yeah, overall, I did like it. What about you?
Yeah, I kind of similar. I liked the movie. I did not. I say this. It's hard to watch.
Yeah,
from because it is, like you said, it does kind of go a little dark, and it's not a happy ending kind of movie. So so it's like in that sense, it's not always enjoyable from like a general story, but at the same time, like I liked it.
Yeah,
but it's not something I'd want to watch over and over again.
No.
So cool. Well, let's just get into the spoilers and start talking about the the story and characters and whatnot. So
I do want to say also though, this is now we're on his fifth movie,
yeah, something like that,
and hasn't made one that I didn't like yet, which is interesting. There's still a couple I haven't seen, but yeah, I would say this one I didn't. I don't know where I'd rank. I mean, that'd be something cool to do at the end, kind of rank them. I don't know if we did that with Denis Villeneuve. We kind of did. I think we talked about
ranking a little bit, but not like officially. But yeah, you're right. That's a good idea to do.
But I still, I think it's the main thing. I don't know if I like loved it, but I did really like. Honestly, the main thing besides the time period is the dialogue and acting. I think really elevates it.
Yeah. Yeah. So what I was gonna say,
yeah,
that kind of started to say earlier. So watching this, like, I don't know how far, maybe 10 minutes into the movie or whatever, I was like, this has got to be Roger Deakins again. And
You
then
knew immediately?
and then I was like, and then also I was like, it's got to be Paul Newman again.
Thomas
I
Newman.
mean Thomas
Yeah,
Newman, yeah,
yeah,
not Paul
yeah.
Newman. Thomas Newman.
That part I could tell, but man, how could you tell with the cinematography?
Just
Because I couldn't.
the way things are lit,
Okay.
the way some of the shots, like I was like, this has got to be him again. And I didn't even look till after I finished watching the movie,
Nice.
but just because I went into this really cold, I'm blind. Like I didn't watch a trailer. I had
Awesome.
no idea what to expect this movie, other than just I saw the cover and knew that Leonardo DiCaprio and Kate Winslet were in it.
Yeah.
Which, it was the first time. I think I was reading it was like 12 years after Titanic, and it was like the first time they were
Together in
together
a
in a movie
again.
again. So that
It's a big deal, just that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, because being Titanic was such a big deal. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right. Like their performances were amazing.
Yeah.
They did great. I thought the son, the Wheeler, not the Wheeler, the Givings, John Givings, the Michael Shannon character.
Oh yeah.
Dude, he was and he was only in like a
I
couple
know.
scenes, but he was so good.
Yeah, he was. He's always good. I love that actor, but yeah, in this, I have a note about him. It's yeah,
Yeah, he was
So
great.
great.
And then Kathy Bates, is doing Kathy Bates. So she's good.
Yep.
Catherine Hahn, I really liked her character too, the neighbor.
Yes.
I,
David Harbour, whatever.
David, yeah, like I feel like his was the one that would kind of brought it down.
Well, it wasn't very. It's just not very memorable. Like he's playing a very stereotypical person for that time period. I want to say.
I guess I just feel like I don't know. Like I just.
Well, he's.
I mean, I think
he's done better acting, but I think it's also because the parts he's done in other stuff have just been better characters. I think too.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think maybe it's more. I
think so. I don't know. I mean, at least that's what it seemed like to me.
He was the only one that was kind of like, because the. Yeah, just like I don't know. It was just, but maybe that's what he's supposed to be. Maybe that's the way they wanted him to come across. But like, he just kind of seemed blah and like.
Yeah,
and I was like,
he did.
But yeah. Yeah, story wise, like, I mean it again didn't go where I thought. You kind of alluded to it. I really expected. Because they set it up where you can tell, okay, they meet each other and they kind of, but then then you flash forward like some time, right? And then they're coming home from the play and they're kind of, you can tell that they've been struggling in their marriage and whatever.
Mm-hmm. And
of course they are married because, when they meet, they're just like kind of like hitting it off to maybe go on a date or something. And then like, she has this epiphany, realizes it's, the problem is he's just kind of stuck in a job that he took just because, well, it's what you got to do because we're having have a family,
right.
and then she's kind of, and they're just in this mundane like life, and she finally realizes, oh, what always got, he was excited about, and then you just kind of got sidetracked in life, and we should do this, and then of course that seemed to bring the spark back. And you're like all excited for them to kind of work things out and get on this new adventure as a family and figure out how to make things work in their marriage, or so to speak. And which kind of like, I think it's like they were both unhappy, not necessarily because of the marriage, but because of the other things in their, like, he was just like didn't feel any purpose in life with a like kind of dead end job.
Yes.
He felt like.
Yeah.
And then, I think she was just kind of the same, like, she had all these aspirations to do something else. And then she just kind of is like a housewife now.
Mm-hmm.
And so they both kind of felt like they were stuck in something. And then because of that, it put a lot of strain on their relationship. So like, so then she seemed to find this thing that was like kind of brought them together and got them excited about like actually some kind of future, right, together. And then he gets scared, right?
Yep.
And then it takes a turn to like the darker, and then it's like, and then just things go really, really bad.
Yeah, and that's why I was like interested going into this, or even a little ways into the movie, because, like I said, like the movie flew by for me. So that's what I was surprised about, because the premise, I'm like, all right, it doesn't seem like how could you make this like interesting and engaging the whole time.
For 2 hours where it's mostly
Yeah.
just people talking in rooms.
Right. Yeah.
It's
About
basically-
like, and it's just like about like normal
Yeah.
life in the 50s. Which again, because of the time period, like I'm still cool with that.
Yeah, yeah.
But I was wondering, is there going to be more to this? And the main thing I was very surprised about, because when they finally were talking about France, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was France.
Paris.
Yeah, it was Paris. Yeah. I thought we were actually going to go there. So I was very surprised that obviously with the
100%.
budget, it's like, all right, well,
again,
keep that down.
Didn't look at that ahead of time, but
Yeah.
same thoughts. I was like, oh, well, in my head, I was like, oh, Sam Mendes found, he's like, you find a way. You're like, oh, let's spend half our filming in Paris, so we can spend a couple weeks in Paris, like just for. And I guess not the case, but like,
no. So that's what was interesting. So then, like from that point on, then yeah, I guess that'd be like more like the second half of the movie. Then was interesting because then it goes very different ways from there. But yeah, that was the main thing. But again,
the
still
third act. Yes, it was more. Think of it in three parts, not two.
Sure, yeah. Which, yeah, did the
first act would be setting everything up.
No, I know, but I mean, time wise in the movie, I was thinking it seemed like it was around
the hour mark.
Yeah, I think
it was probably further along than that before where things started going south again.
Yeah,
probably further along. I don't know. I didn't watch it, but it's in general, because you have the middle part where everyone's telling them they're crazy and they're like all excited about what they're doing, and because basically the transition from act 1 to act 2 would be when she has the epitome of like, hey, we need to change in our life, and then of course all the stuff that happens there, and then of course when the third act is from second to third act is when the shift of like, oh, he's like not wanting to do this and scared, and then like
right,
because he's got this other opportunity. And man, yeah, so did I cut you off?
No, I think that was it that I was gonna say about it. At least like just the story in general. Yeah,
the scene where she also like the scene in the morning at the end where she's like,
oh man,
she's so nice to him, but it's like so creepy.
Yeah,
she does such a good, like the actor's obviously doing like a phenomenal job of like conveying that, and you're just it was like.
I know that was one of the best parts.
I think that was one of the best from her, like as like not that she didn't do great throughout the film, but like it was like that moment, like you're just like, oh my gosh, she's like, just
yeah. And we were just let's see, a couple weeks ago, we just did the holiday on Film Banter, so seeing her in that too, like I think she's one of the best actresses, and because she's amazing in that too, but in this I was like, man, and it's hard with both of them because Leonardo DiCaprio is like one of our best, I would say too.
Yeah,
but so obviously it's like both of them, but honestly I think she's number one in this movie as far as like the best performance even, which I know we don't have to always do that with like breaking all that down, and because it's hard to pick between both of them. But yeah, man, there's so many times, especially the scene you're talking about, where
I
she's.
I agree. I think she's
so good.
Just a little bit in this movie. I think her performance,
because her range that she goes through throughout the whole movie too. There's so much to it that she has to do, and I would say her character is my favorite. If we're gonna pick like who's your favorite in the film, I would say her. I I was just say like part of, and I guess because I just didn't like David Harbour's character. Yeah,
I was like when they like she starts dancing and then she ends up like hooking up with them in the. I was like, that was the one thing I didn't buy. Like I was like, come on, this is it just like didn't like I definitely caught like when he was they were supposed to come over. There was that moment where he was like before this. Where he was like staring at their house, like from their house.
Oh yeah,
then it was like, oh, he's got a thing for her.
Yeah, it was pretty quick. You could tell that. Yeah,
so you could tell like he definitely had a thing for her, but like
she didn't though.
Like, yeah, and I was like, why?
No, that was just in the moment. She just was, just decide like, okay, yeah, let's do this. But Yeah, no, it was mostly him
Yeah.
because, man, right afterwards too, what he says, I'm like, come on, dude.
Yeah, he's
It's,
like, I've
or he's
loved you,
always
I've
said like,
loved you forever.
yeah, or
Yeah,
just something like
something like
that. I'm
that.
like, dude, like immediately he says that. I was
Yeah,
like, "Ooh, this is rough to watch."
yeah,
But
yeah.
yeah, that was
I don't know.
yeah,
I guess
that's but I do buy it just because of that.
I
Because
guess she
again, I don't think she
she had
was
several drinks too. I guess and stuff
right,
like.
and it's
So,
just it was in the moment. She was like, okay, um, because otherwise, yeah, I don't think that would have happened. She
yeah.
wouldn't have really um taken that chance. I don't think,
Mm.
but because of everything leading up to that point, I would say, yeah.
Yeah,
Because the rest of the time, you don't really. She doesn't ever really act like she likes him at all.
for sure, for sure. Um, yeah. Any other? Like I said, the scenes with Michael Shannon, the couple scenes with him are so good, where he's just like speaking. He's basically like speaking into like what's happening, like basically like cutting through all the BS and just
Yeah,
like reading it and between the tension and the lines of like basically
it's
it's
so
so
good.
good. It's so
Yeah,
good.
yeah, he's just. It's funny because, yeah. Let me see the note I have about him. Um, yeah, his character in this, like, he's so quirky and like unintentionally funny
Mhm.
in this, but also he's just spitting facts the whole time, and they're just, progressively like they're just getting angrier and angrier with him. But and it's funny because everyone is basically telling him like he's the crazy one, but really
Right.
he's just being honest the whole time. Yeah. So it's a great character. Yeah, again, like I said, I love Michael Shannon anyway. I don't think I've ever seen him in like do even it's a bad movie or show. He's always just been
Yeah. Yeah.
amazing performance no matter what. Yeah. And he's another one I wish there was more of in this, but it's that the fact that he's only in like two scenes. It's like
Right.
he basically what we call that where he's like a scene stealer, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
He's that in this movie
Right.
for
Right.
the ones he's in. Yeah.
Yeah. Um. Cool. Well, let's anything about I was just thinking like the ending scene.
Yeah.
Um.
Yeah, I got a note about the ending. Yeah. That we can get to. But yeah, go ahead.
Well, I was just like that was a little odd to like end on the the like old the husband Kathy, what's his name, Mr. Givings, just like him like turning his earpiece.
Oh
His,
yeah. That was weird. Yeah, I forgot about that.
that was like
Because I was thinking
that was
it
the
ends on,
last scene, like the last scene.
I know, I was thinking it ended on uh oh, what's his name? The Wheeler.
Oh, Leonardo DiCaprio.
Yeah.
What's his
Shoot.
first name?
Yeah.
Frank Wheeler.
Right. Frank. Yeah, when it's just him, like on the he's in the park or something, right, with the kids.
Yeah.
I was thinking that was the ending, but yeah, you're right. Then it goes to them, yeah, and she just keeps talking, and then he just turns. Yeah, you're right. That is kind of weird to end on that.
Yeah.
And I don't know. There might be something if we ever hear an interview with him why he chose to do that.
Yeah.
It might mean something, but I didn't really.
Yeah.
That part I didn't really
and it might
understand
be
why
from
ending on
the
that.
book, and he might have just kind of kept
That's
it in.
true.
I don't
The
know.
book could end that way. Yeah.
But yeah, it was just a weird
It
like
was.
that like scene with being the last thing. Kind of leave it on was kind of
Yes.
odd.
I agree.
But yeah. Any other general stuff on that before we move on to the other sections?
Yeah, the big note I have, because the other thing's just something small, but the only big note I have is about kind of that ending, because it's kind of definite, but still, I would say up in the air, is with April. Like, was she actually trying to kill herself, or was it an accident.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Because there's different lines that kind of tell you like either way, I would say, because when they're in the hospital at the end, um, Frank basically says like, she did this to herself, but then also when you think about it, after what April did before that, she still called to get, called the
Mm-hmm.
the
911 or
hospital. Yeah,
whatever.
yeah, or whatever. Yeah. So, but the part is like, yeah, I don't know what you think about that. If it's something
Yeah.
to where you think it was, she knew the risk and just like was like, okay, I'm okay if, I don't
Right.
live
I don't
from
know.
this, or if it's accident,
I
or
think you're right. I mean,
that
I
was
think
my
it's
main question.
I think it is partially ambiguous. Like,
Yeah.
I think they're kind of left it open ended to be like, did she do it just to try to have an abortion, or did she do it because she also knew there was a high risk and she really didn't want to live anymore anyway?
Right.
And I think honestly, probably was. I mean, guessing like she was, because she's definitely in a bad place, right?
Mm-hmm.
Emotionally, mentally. So I think she probably was like, she's like, I'm just going to do this, and if it kills me, oh well. But then once she did it and she was bleeding, then she's like, oh. And then it kind of like, because sometimes it like something snaps you out, and then you're like, oh, then you actually are scared, and then you're like, oh, and then she calls 911. So
Okay.
maybe that's kind of how it played out,
So so she switched right after that. So she was going into it basically.
like probably like,
Yeah,
it's okay if this
that's a good
kills me.
point.
But, I mean, obviously they leave it open for interpretation, like not necessarily a definitive.
Yeah, that's what you're talking about, because even the scene, so basically that whole morning, the way that whole scene with her is just amazing, like we were just talking about with what she does. But then all the way up into, talking with her husband, and then him leaving, and then her immediately going and doing that right afterwards. That's why I'm also like, I'm still torn, because the way she's acting that whole time, it's like they really make you think like she's acting this way because she's like, all right, this is the last time I'm going to see you, like, and then even when she calls her kids because they're somewhere, right? Yeah.
And she's like, I'm still not feeling well, can you keep him and she can't even give him a hug from her or tell him I love him, and she can't even get it out, the words out, because like, again, because I think she knew what she was about to do. Right.
So they do that really well with all of it, to where you think like, okay, like that's it for her. But then it might be a thing like you're saying, where that was always the intention, and then right afterwards, then she kind of switched, and then was like, then she called 911 or whatever. Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, and I don't know if the book goes into any more detail, because I imagine that's a huge detail with the book and the ending, I'm sure, but I wonder how different it is, or if they go into any more detail about it.
Maybe it'll be in the trivia.
That's true. Yeah, there's probably stuff in trivia. Yeah.
Maybe we'll see something.
Yeah.
All right. Speaking of the master, the Deakins, Roger Deakins.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Well then, if we're going to cinematography, I just have one more note, which actually can kind of segue pretty well into it, because it kind of goes along with that. It's just because I want to say it's in a couple scenes where they're either in like a restaurant or just in a public place inside and in a building. I really like scenes where you see, because obviously the time period too, like everyone's smoking, but just seeing the effect of seeing all the smoke in the air, right? And obviously this is a big thing in Mad Men too. You see this a lot. And I just think it's a really cool effect. And
like smoke or haze always makes everything look cooler.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, we use haze anyway, but like, that kind of effect, obviously it's a little different, but very similar. Yeah. So I love that in scenes where you see that kind of clouding all around them, or at least kind of dispersing around them. I always think that's cool.
Diffuses the light, makes it look it's cool.
Yeah.
So, but speaking of light, I think so. I mean, it was kind of hard to pick. I mean, there was a lot of like just so.
I really want to know. Yeah, because
stylistically, definitely gone for very naturalistic lighting. So I don't know if you like you noticed it, but it was very like soft and like naturalistic, which I don't say like I don't say it's my preferred, but I think that's kind of like what I naturally gravitate towards. A little bit moody, naturalistic kind of lighting. Like a lot of stuff I do myself, like I like that more than Anyway, so I mean, it was again, it was hard. It was hard to pick a certain specific.
Yeah, I only have one. Yeah.
So the easier thing for me to say is the one scene that I think that didn't look good.
Okay.
So, and that's when Frank Wheeler, Leonardo DiCaprio's character, when he goes to like lunch or whatever it is with his coworkers.
Okay.
They're kind of sitting around the table. Like that scene looked very flat, which is like meaning like there was no shape to like the light, and it kind of just it only stood out because because of everything else looking so good,
right?
And then that one scene like kind of just fell out of place.
Is this near the beginning where he's all out with his coworkers and then the girl like comes up?
No, I don't think the girl, because he just runs into her. He takes her out.
He takes her out by herself. That's kind of early on too. But yeah, so then there was a scene later, I thought, where she comes back when he's with. Maybe
no,
not,
she comes to him in the office.
Oh,
because she's like, should we celebrate? Because he gets like the promotion. Or
that's right. Okay, so it is just him and the coworkers then.
Yeah,
okay.
And I think there's twice. I think there's twice that they show him at the same spot, same like little like lunch diner or whatever, and they're sitting around a table.
Okay.
I feel like there was like two different.
Well, the other
times.
one I was thinking of is when he's talking to just the one-on-one with the guy. That's in a different restaurant a little bit later about the promotion.
Oh yeah, no, that one that's not that one looked fine, and also when he's with those all look good. Like when he's also with the girl to like breakfast or whatever, he takes her, and then like all that stuff looked good to me. I mean, like just consistent for everything else, which is all like I said in general looks amazing. Like I just love it in general.
Oh yeah,
but and that's why that one scene just kind of felt a little out of place because it was like,
what if it was a scene where someone else did? What if that was the only scene that someone else did and he wasn't?
Maybe, I don't know.
He wasn't around.
Maybe he was like out sick and they just had like this.
Yeah. Or what do you talk about when they do give two different crews? They do two different
second
scenes.
Unit, yeah. But
that's
normally when you have action movies or something and they're like.
Yeah, I guess this kind of movie you don't really need to do two with the different scenes at the same time with two different crews. Yeah.
No.
Well, that's just I'm just interested in how because I didn't know. I very much knew with the music, and it's awesome that you picked up on that too. But with the cinematography, I had no idea it was still Roger Deakins, and I think it was also because I want to say, well, at least a lot of the movies that he's done, I want to say don't have as much of like what do you call it? More like a handheld style, or what do you call it? Because I feel like there was a lot in this.
Yeah.
Or at least a lot more than normally than what he would do. Or does he do a lot of that? Because
he does. I think.
Okay. Because I don't remember as much even in our last movie, even in Jarhead.
Jarhead, there was less. But there's definitely times. But this was a good balance because there was definitely a lot of scenes that weren't. There were just slow push-ins or just locked off shots.
Yeah.
But it's all. I mean, honestly, like all that stuff is in service of like the feeling and the emotion and what you want, for the story, right?
Of course, yeah. Because I'm thinking of mainly like when she goes running into the woods, and then he follows her. Like that's very much that kind of scene. Where you want it to be that way.
The one scene that the camera work really felt different was when he's running after her. Like when she go right, is that when he's running and you kind of see it's like towards the end he's like running down like, and you kind of see him partially.
Is this the same scene or a different than when she goes into the woods?
It's like I think it's later.
After that.
Yeah, because I think it's after she already goes to the. She goes to the the hospital or something. I don't know. I can't remember now what order it was, but it was right at towards
Okay.
the end where it's like you kind of see him through the woods, but it's like we're like kind of panning with him, and it's kind of there's a lot of motion blur, and
Oh, okay.
you know what I'm talking about.
I think so. Yeah.
That to me was like really felt it was like really done differently than
Mm-hmm.
everything else in the movie. Um, yeah.
So yeah, I want to know. So the main thing is not even like the way he does the camera work, or what do you call it? The composition of the
Yeah,
shots. It's more. The main thing is the lighting. Is what
Well,
you
I
could
think it was
tell
a
immediately
combination
with
of
Roger
the
Deakins.
combination of the two.
Okay.
I think it was like the way the lighting was done, and then the way the composition and camera work was done, just kind of like all that together, because all those kind of a lot of times come from the cinematographer of like at least deciding those things,
Mm-hmm.
or at least heavy input. And it was just something about it. I was like, this got to be Roger Deakins again. It's like all I could think of in my head. And then again with the music, the same. I was like,
Yeah.
And it's funny because I think, you know, watching random movies that I don't know if I'd pick up on that as much. Maybe the Deakins thing, but like definitely the music I would have not picked up on. But the fact that I've, you know,
Going through all these now.
we've watched these movies in order, and not only is it the same director, but same composer in every single movie.
Yeah.
You start to pick up on the kind of things he likes to do.
Yes.
And like, so then it's like, even though it's might be different instruments or different whatever, I don't know, you know, the right terms, but there's still like this his style, or I don't know again what the right term is, but
Yep. For sure.
it's like kind of ingrained in there, regardless of the tone and the instruments he's using, right?
Yes.
And so I was like, it's got to be him too. Like, it was just funny, and I feel like they both happened almost the same time. You know, like I said, like 5-10 minutes, whatever it was, into the movie early on, and I was like, oh, this has got to be the same composer. And then I'm like, and this has got to be Roger Deakins.
Well, that one I could tell immediately, because even from the beginning, because I think they do the main theme from the very beginning, and I could tell right away from the main theme. I was like,
I picked up on it right in the beginning, because I feel like it was later. I think it was once they were released at the house, Revolutionary Road House, which is, you know, the first scene's obviously when they meet, and then the second scene is like the play, and then the third scene is them driving back from the play, and they kind of stop. So it's probably not till that fourth or fifth scene, you know. And then she shows them the house.
I think that's what I'm talking about, because I want to say I don't think there was much music before that anyway.
Then she shows them the house, and then
because I want to say
it's
it's just an actual song before that.
Yeah.
So whenever the main theme first
plays,
gets used is when I could tell.
Well, I might have picked it up at the same time then.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was like, this is funny, but I'm like,
no, it's awesome.
But then of course I had to check later after I watched it, and to see if I was actually right. But then I was like, oh, I was right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So that was cool. It's cool. It's again cool to see. It was like we did with the previous directors. You know, seeing some of their style, like, you know, you start to recognize the similarities in things they do, and like Denis Villeneuve stuff for sure, Edgar Wright stuff for sure. I feel like Sam Mendes' style is a lot more subtle. And I wouldn't know that I would say
as a director.
Okay, and I wouldn't know that I would be able to distinguish it yet. I think,
like, if you were just watching these movies randomly, and didn't
or just
know
like
who directed
another
it.
random mixed movie in, and been like, and then be like, oh, this is Sam Mendes. Got to be, you know, like I don't know.
Yeah, no, that's true.
Whereas like the other two guys that we've done so far, I think at this point, if it was a random movie, I'd be like, that's got to be Edgar Wright, or that's got to be Villeneuve. But I think I would pick up on it. But I'm not saying we won't get there, but I still don't know that I quite have my pulse on that yet on this one.
No, I agree. Yeah, it is different for him. Yeah,
I think it's more subtle, and so it's not as obvious. And it's hard to know.
Well, it's also when he's doing very different movies every time.
Yeah.
So far, like different genres of movies, even.
True.
Yeah, that makes it harder too.
So, well, we'll get to that. So, score. Any other thoughts on the score?
Yeah, just just one thing mainly, which is the main theme, because that's a lot of it. Because he comes back to it. What's great is well, I guess I'll say two things about it.
Yeah.
I just want to talk the main theme in general because that's throughout a lot of the movie. Um, I think this is one of the things that Thomas Newman does the best is the main theme of a movie, because he did that with all these previous movies. Although actually not as much with Jarhead.
Yeah, Jarhead was a little. It was.
Yeah, not as much. But all the other ones,
Yes.
Road to Perdition for sure, American Beauty for sure, is they're always memorable. So you always can tell it's the main theme, but it's not. It's always more interesting though, and kind of unconventional, melody wise, I should say.
Yeah.
Which is what I love about it, because not everything is normally the main theme. You keep it pretty simple and more of a something that's predictable that people hear a lot musically. And I like with his stuff that even a main theme in a movie, which you're going to hear a lot through it, it sounds what's the word I used? I guess unconventional, or just more interesting in general. The melody of it, and I think especially this movie, because I love the main theme and one part in it, because it does a lot at the beginning when he's going to work, which actually, to back up a little bit, that's something I had for cinematography, is the shots of him going to work for the first time. I thought that was like the actual standout shot, I thought, for me, because it was a lot different, where he was like in a sea of like all men that look like that basically, or dressed the same, or what was it?
He took the train, he did, and, like all the steps to get it.
But even when they're just all walking, I think it was after the train, when you just see a bunch of them walking, that's a really cool shot.
Grand Central Station.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah. But with the score, what's cool is the main theme, right in the well, I guess if we're talking about acts, I guess it would be in the second act, where they're having one of their big fights. 'Cause I guess there's a couple in this movie.
Yes.
And Frank gets really angry. The main theme's going, but then he adds even more to it, and starts to add a little bit of dissonance in the melody, which is perfect for that. I love that about it too. But yeah, besides that, that's the main thing I would point out with it, because there are other parts to it, but in this movie specifically, because there's not a ton of score, when he does go back to it, it's a variation of the main theme, or just a reprise of it, which is awesome. But yeah, he's still great.
And it's also like,
also I just love using piano.
Yeah,
because you can use it in so many different styles of movies too.
What I say is interesting, I think, or again, noticing his stuff and like it now, like, being able to pick up on it. It's also interesting because to me, it's way more of a subtle style than like the people that you like, than a John Williams or
for sure,
or a Hans Zimmer, where like the stuff's kind of way more in your face.
Yes,
with the music and not that I love that stuff. It just his style's a lot more subtle, but it still has the impact. And so it's interesting. It just
No, you're right, because even let's say John Williams or Hans Zimmer did I wouldn't say not as much as Hans Zimmer, but it'd still be a little bit more. If either one of them scored this movie, you're right, it would be louder and it would be bigger. There'd be more instruments, especially John Williams. Hans Zimmer, though, he could still be more subtle, but he would still have more going on than Thomas Newman. Because, perfect example, again, we just watched The Holiday, which is an amazing Hans Zimmer score. I love the music in that he did for that.
I don't know if I've ever seen that movie, but
man,
I know
it's one of the few like rom-coms I like. And I remember when Claudia and I first started dating, and we talked about that because it's her favorite.
Because it's a Christmas movie, right?
Yeah, and she
to watch it.
She was like blown away because she was mentioning that movie and she wanted to watch it, and she's like, "You don't like those movies, do you?" I was like, "Not really," but I said I love that movie, and she was like shocked that I love that movie.
Yeah.
But it's not just the music. the whole movie is about actually like a lot of it has to do with the film industry in general, like old Hollywood and like current Hollywood in the mid 2000s. That's when the movie is, but also about film composing because the one guy is in it.
Okay.
The other person is doing like cutting trailers basically, which is funny also. But I hadn't seen it in a while, and it was awesome to revisit.
I'll
But
try to maybe watch it next year.
the score is so good in it. Yeah, yeah. So, but anyway, so you're right though. It'd be a good mix. John Williams does the most. He's very busy with his. I talked about him with his melodies and themes that he does. But it's still amazing. Obviously, it's John Williams. But Hans Zimmer's kind of more in between because he can kind of go either way. But yeah, you're right. Thomas Newman, very subtle a lot of the times with his stuff, and I'm interested to see. I'm sure he didn't do all of Sam Mendes' movies, but so I'm interested to see who else he gets. But I'm interested to see how what themes Thomas Newman does going forward. If he is done any of it, because he's done all of them so far. I'm wondering if he's doing any more
I don't know.
with him.
Yeah. We'll
see.
stay tuned.
Yeah, we're like half. Yeah, I think there's like 5. Yeah, I think we're kind of almost halfway through now with his filmography. I want to say.
Yeah. Sounds about right.
Yeah. I think we got like 5 more or something.
So, themes, messaging, underlying themes, messaging. Got any thoughts on that?
I mean, just a little bit. You could speak on it more. I was going to say, because you've been married longer. I was going to say I'm a little over a year in, so I don't know as much. Because actually, that was the other thing was, I don't think they say it, but the description of the movie says it. They're 7 years in, right?
Oh, yeah.
I think it says it in the description of the movie, but I don't think they actually mention it.
Yeah, they don't mention it. But I mean, you figure they got married and had kids, and their kids, I mean,
Right.
So it sounds about right. 7 years, maybe.
Yeah. But I mean, my main thing is, I don't have anything specific, but I would say the three things that I think this movie is about is, well, one, like we just mentioned, is just marriage in general, making huge life decisions, and then running away from your problems. I would say those are the 3. I don't know.
I don't disagree with that.
Yeah.
Those are themes in there. I think. I also think it's funny how I want to say, like, from a thematic standpoint, it's like almost the same as American Beauty, just different time period. Because it's
that's true.
it's like a couple that's like stuck in their marriage that's kind of gotten to the mundane and kind of just going through the motions in suburban life. Just this one happens to be in the 50s.
Those are similarities, yeah.
Yeah.
I guess besides that, though, yeah, it's different.
I mean, like, where things go is different.
Right, yeah.
But, like, and how it
you're right,
plays
though,
out.
the way the family is, though, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
And, of course, they're a little further along in their marriage in American Beauty, and they have a teenage daughter. And versus,
yeah, and
like,
the family has more to do with it, yeah. The whole family,
yeah. And, I mean, it's not the same movie. But,
no, you're right.
But,
yeah.
like, just I thought it was kind of interesting. It's kind of very similar in that sense.
Yeah, except for this one, they both end up cheating at one point, and then American Beauty, it's only.
I mean, I guess he doesn't quite
only
fully
the
go
mom.
through with it, right? Like he almost does with the teenage girl.
Right, that's what I mean. Yeah, because in American Beauty, Lester technically doesn't, but his wife does. Yeah,
Yeah, she does.
But in this movie, they both do. Yeah,
Yeah, they both do.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
no, Lester was about to.
That's it. And I mean, let's be honest, like, he went far enough that it would still have been considered
Yes,
like going too far.
especially if you count up all the other stuff he did.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
But anyway,
It would still count. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, so definitely that. I think it definitely does a good job of, again, portraying those kind of challenging, frustration things that, like, where you can get into like a bad spot in your marriage, and just both kind of, even though you love each other, you just don't like each other right now, kind of thing. And I mean, that's inevitable.
It is
I don't care
inevitable.
who you are. It gets there eventually. And so learn
Yeah.
it like
I learned that in marriage counseling
yeah.
before.
So like
I was already prepped for that.
But knowing that it happens is being prepped like, and once you're in that to be instead of not really talking about it, like which they were kind of avoiding the real problem, right?
Yes.
They're trying to fix it other ways, and so I think, but anyway, but I think it did a good job representing that, and they obviously played those parts really well, of just kind of that feeling of in those situations, and then to like get to that breaking point where they basically thought they had the fix, and then the same thing's going better, and then
But that's the thing. I mean, that's like that's a big point of the movie, is that just moving to France, they think they think that's going to fix all their problems.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And it's just running away from it.
Yes. Yeah.
Like you kind of alluded to.
Yeah.
So we all know that it probably wasn't going to fix the problem. I mean, maybe in some small way, if like he found purpose and she found purpose, and they could be happy as individuals, and then it would help the thing as a whole.
Yes.
And it doesn't mean it always would fix the whole thing as a whole, because you still got to work on that. But
right.
I think that's where a lot of times, at least especially in this, I think they set it up like they both weren't even okay who they were on their own.
Right.
So then you really can't be okay together.
Right.
And anyway, but I think it also, again, is what American Beauty kind of also set up is like the facade of what potential, I want to say like what Hollywood, or the facade of what the American dream is, right? The suburban life with 2 kids kind of thing.
Especially in that time period too. Yeah.
In that time period. And but even like in the late 90s, 2000s, like where American Beauty is.
Yeah.
It's like kind of like showing that like, everyone's putting up the facade, but behind closed doors, everyone's struggling. Right.
Right.
And both those movies show that well, I think. So, yeah. But again, with this, it's funny because like American Beauty, I'd watch again for sure.
Yeah.
And this I don't know that I would. And I think it's because it's just it takes itself way more seriously. Where American Beauty has like that kind of almost a little bit humorous like take on it, and like
American Beauty has levity to it.
Yeah.
This
so then even though it goes dark,
yeah,
and it has a dark ending as well,
yeah,
like there's that levity that like you don't walk away feeling so like and this like by the end you're just like sad and frustrated for that they couldn't figure it out, and sad that that things didn't turn out for them. And anyway, so
no, I agree.
Cool. Did you got the trivia up there?
Yeah, I'm looking it up. Yeah, I don't know if you want to say anything else. I'm just gonna look through some and just see if there's any good ones in here.
No, I mean, other than just I think there's a lot of truth in what they portrayed, and both movies, it can go there if you're not careful.
Mm-hmm.
There is one other thing I will say I could relate a little bit to his struggle, like of having, because I think I was feeling that a little bit, like being in the same job for like 16 years.
Oh yeah. And
that kind of like just needing to do something a little different, just to like get out of the mundane and it's like, it's funny because it's not really what I'm doing is really not that different, though there's going to hopefully be opportunities in the coming years to maybe do some other things that are different. It just feels like I'm doing because it is different in other ways, like being my own production company versus working for somebody else. Like there's some excitement in that, and just learning that things I have to do different, the things I have to do that. So there was a little bit that I could relate in there,
Yes.
like where because of that feeling of where the security and safety of what you know and what you have, even though if it is kind of maybe not it's holding you back, is still sometimes easier just to stay at, which is what he does, versus taking that step that's scary to do something different but exciting.
For sure.
Yeah, so there was just thoughts I was having when I was watching that and like kind of relating to myself. So
I agree. I related to the same thing a little bit too. Yeah. Also, yeah, with you saying you're doing more things, I'm gonna keep mentioning in all these pods because I already did before about you making a feature film. So over this time, I'm gonna keep reminding Josh about making a feature film,
Yeah.
and then eventually maybe he
eventually
will.
it'll happen. Yeah, eventually it'll happen. No, I think I mean, I do want to do something like that eventually. Just probably not in 2024.
No, yeah, I know.
It's just getting myself established, but work towards those things. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. A lot of these are really long. The first one I'm looking at for trivia this is just like the last movie, Jarhead. This film was shot almost entirely in sequence. So that's twice in a row, which is, again, we were talking about how,
It's unusual to do that.
yeah. So I don't know. Maybe for this movie, I guess it makes more sense, does it? When you're filming?
I mean, if like we talked about, there's not a lot of other locations,
Right.
And a lot of the other locations they only go to them once.
Mm-hmm.
So, like the opening.
That's true. Yeah, you don't need to go back to it.
So you
Yeah.
can go to there first, and then you can go to the. So like you kind of do that. Now, the stuff like his work and stuff, like you do go back there a couple times. So, but then at the same time, if you have that, say you have the house, the main house where you're going to be filming, and you have it, you don't really tear down what you have set up there, and it's just set up, and then you go a couple days somewhere else, and you come back to it, because it probably helps the actors to like not have to jump around emotionally, and they can allow their characters to kind of evolve as the movie is going. And it's because it is such a heavy character draw and like based.
Yeah.
I could see where there'd be benefits doing it that way from a storytelling.
Yeah. Okay. Let's see. Yeah. Kate Winslet articulated that her relationship with Leonardo DiCaprio was so strong that she could instinctively tell when he wasn't happy with his performance in a take. They have both stated that their long-lasting friendship allowed their performances to be elevated, as they weren't afraid to ask more of the other. That's another reason why they're so good in this.
Yeah, there's a little comfort level with someone you've worked with before. You can be a little more candid and push each other, and because when you have a good working relationship with somebody, you're able to tell them, hey, I didn't like that, or hey, I think you can do better.
Yep. Okay. This will be good because I just see one. Figured there'd be something about Titanic in here. While shooting the scene where Frank and April Wheeler first meet and dance together, the director was blasting a ballad to set the scene. After take 13, someone changed the music to Celine Dion's song "My Heart Will Go On," the anthem from Titanic. Initially, everyone paused before Leonardo DiCaprio and Kate Winslet wordlessly spread out their arms and recreated the iconic pose of their Titanic characters. This resulted in applause and laughter from the 300 extras, energizing the mood. Nice. So they weren't sick of it, which is good.
Yeah.
Like even this far along since, what was it, 98, 99?
I don't remember. Yeah.
Oh, wait, it says it here. 97.
97. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So you're basically a decade. Yeah, because this came out in 2008, probably was filmed in 2007 or around then. So, yeah, 10 years in, you figure they'd be sick of anyone even mentioning Titanic at that point, but that's awesome that they're still. They still did that.
Yeah.
Let's see. Okay, here's another quick Titanic thing. At around the 61 minutes mark in the movie, during an argument, a fallen painting of the Titanic is visible in the bottom left of the frame behind April. Leo DiCaprio, Kate Winslet, and Kathy Bates all starred in the movie Titanic. Okay, that's just saying that. I didn't remember Kathy Bates being in Titanic. Huh.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, I don't think there's gonna be much. Let's see. Let's see if I can find another good one.
Well, yeah, some movies just don't have as much interesting behind the scenes info as others.
Yeah, this doesn't. This I figured because we were talking about this. The film was entirely shot on locations in Connecticut and without any use of sound stages, which I figured that because you're talking about the location.
Most of it, it was kind of obvious. There was a few spots where I was like, oh, maybe they had to use a set for like some of those interiors.
But like you said,
some of those locations, but
filming it like an indie movie, that's how they would do it. They would not be making full sets or in a sound stage. So, yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay, that's weird. Matt Damon was considered for Frank Wheeler, but could not do this on account of scheduling conflicts. That's a good. I'm glad they didn't go with Matt Damon. That would have.
Yeah, that would have been as good. Yeah, I don't think it would have been the same.
Yeah,
I don't think it would have been horrible, but it was.
No. Matt Damon's still great, but also it's like if you could get the chance, because, I mean, is there another movie? I think there's only 2 times they were together in a movie. Leo and
probably
Kate,
I don't know if it's been sent. Yeah, I don't think
so. I don't like. I'm sure Sam Mendes was really trying to get both of them.
It probably helped with the marketing too when the movie came out to be like, hey, they're back together on the screen again. Since I could see the marketing trailer.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, cool. Well, you have any other final thoughts before we wrap things up?
Nope.
I don't think I do either. Other than it's a good movie.
Mm-hmm.
But not one I'm gonna watch again anytime soon.
Yeah, not a really rewatchable type of movie.
But hopefully you guys enjoyed that conversation about Revolutionary Road. Next week we're going to talk about Away We Go, and not one I've seen before.
This is the one I haven't even heard of.
Yeah, me neither.
Yeah, so this will be fun to go completely blind in.
Yeah. But if you aren't already, you should like and subscribe on YouTube or follow and subscribe on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. If you have any thoughts, feedback, you can email us at feedback@screentimepod.com. And if you'd like, you can follow me on Instagram. I'm at JYoungBar.
And I'm at Jared Youngbar.
Yeah, and we'll talk to you guys next week.